Hello everyone, my name is Jen and welcome to the Book Refuge. Alright, hi everybody. Welcome to another round of new to me authors smash or pass, alright? Now, if this is the first time you've seen one of these, I meant to make this a quarterly thing this year, and I realized that I haven't done it yet, and it's almost the end of April. So maybe it'll be like try 3 times this year. I don't know what's it called. If it's not seasonal, I don't know what it'll be. But either way, this was something that I've done, I believe it was mostly just last year, where I would keep track of all the new to me authors that I've read. And then I make a video like this where I basically tell you if I'm going to read more books from them. And so if you don't know what smash or pass means, it was kind of this thing that was used almost like a dating app type of thing. You know, it's like swipe left, swipe right. Like, would you go on a date with them? Would you read it again? Or would you not? And so I turned this into, well, it's not like, the point is, I'm not the first one who came up with it. It's been done with other things. But I want to do it with new to me authors. And so this year in my reading journal, I keep track of them. And when I have enough of them to do a video, we do a video. And this month has just been tough for my brain to come up with inspiration. Like, I'm just being honest. Sometimes it's harder. And I was like, hey, you haven't done one of these yet. Now, part of the reason I held off is that I was hoping to have like 20 or 25 to do, and I have 19, which is still really good. But before I get into them, I do want to talk about briefly like why I think I have less new to me authors this year. And there's a couple of reasons. Last year, I said yes to a lot of arcs from new to me authors, whether I was being reached out or whether I went and seeked them out. And I tried not to take as many arcs from authors that like I already knew I was going to read their book, you know? And so that led me to a lot of new to me authors last year. And so my goal this year, I think, was to do 50 of them in the same way that I had a goal to read 50 historicals, which I am laughably behind at that point, but that's how life goes sometimes. But I want to do, I think, 50 to 60, which would mean doing like 5 new to me authors every month or so. And I think we're doing pretty good with that, with having 19 near the end of April. So I think I'm pretty on track for that. It just feels like I haven't done a lot. And I think it's because I had a lot of new to me authors in like January and February. And then once March and April and now May have hit, there's a lot of authors who I already follow them that I have arcs for them. Now, as I said, I'm trying not to take on as many arcs from authors that I already know I'm going to read them. But I mean, let's be honest, some of those authors are the ones that I am actually on their arc team. So I'm not going to back off of reading those because I want to read those. So, I don't know, it's all a balance. But either way, we have 19 authors to go through today, and some of them I have the books myself. And I will tell you that just ahead of time, there's only a few that I'm passing on. But there will be a few that I'll maybe say maybe to, because I really only give myself the choice of smash or pass. But there's a third category that is like maybe if the right book with the right tropes pops up, I would read it again. And so if there's some of these authors that I am maybe a maybe on and you've read more than one book from them, give it to me. A lot of these are debut authors, so there aren't that many to choose from, but we're going to go through them. So I do have my notes up just in case I've forgotten about them, and we'll talk briefly about what type of book it was when I read it, all of that. So getting started, going all the way back to the beginning of January, I have my spreadsheet here. And the first new to me author I read for the year was Your Rules to Break, and the author was Rachel LeBerg. So this was a basketball romance, if I'm correct here. Yes. Or no, it was football. This one was football. One of the other ones is basketball, I guess. I don't remember. I put football. It must be football. And this one was, the author, I think, had reached out to me about signing up for it, and I went ahead and did it. This was Zach and Emily. It was a fake dating contemporary, and I gave it about a 4-star. And I thought it was really cute, you know, strong enough. So this was a smash. I am willing to try her again. Now, to hold myself to that, I did have an arc of the next book in the series, which just came out. That book just came out this month, and I was not able to get to it. there's not even a surprise. Like, there's so many new books that came out. So I do have an arc of this one. I'll probably get a KU copy so that I can support the author, at least by reading it. But this was pretty good. I am not going to be looking up the full descriptions of these. So if I don't remember a lot to talk about it, that might tell you something as well. Because there are a few of these we're going to get to that I can tell you a lot about them, right? So that, you know, kind of tells you whether I'm interested in them again or not, right? So Rachel LeBerg was a smash, and all of these authors that I talk about, I will link the book that was my first read of theirs down below, so you can check them out as well. So yeah, I definitely would try her again. Honestly, if there was audiobooks for her books, I would definitely read it, like, for sure. The next new to me author was Jess Michaels, and this was for The Silent Duke. This was during the romance readathon that we did in January, and this was also one of our Rake Appreciation Society books. Now, this one did have a deaf hero, and it had a, like, friends to lovers. She's now a widow, and she's really trying to convince him to be with her. And I did give this one 3 stars. And the thing is, I am willing to try the author again, so I did give it a smash. Because I know that this is probably not the very best that this author has to offer. And it was the 4th book in a series. And though with historical romances, you usually can just jump into a series, I don't think that I should have with this one. I really don't think I should have just jumped into it. But that's the one that we picked for book club. Well, I picked it, so that's what we ended up with, right? So I gave that one a smash, but it's more of a maybe if the right one of Jess Michaels. I know Jess Michaels has another pen name as well. I think it's Jenna Peterson is actually another pen name, because I had Jennifer Peterson picked out to possibly read for Rake Appreciation Society, and then I looked the author up and I realized that, oh, we had just read a Jess Michaels. It was kind of funny how that worked out. So possibly would read another one for her. Then I have a couple more that were actually during the Historical Romance Readathon, because I wanted to try a lot of new to me authors. And I read A Scandalous Spring by Sophia Nye. And this was what appeared to be a indie historical romance author. And this was a book that I got during one of the free book days, right? And this one was set in the Highlands. It was a class difference. It was he's a guardian to his younger siblings. And I did not really care for this one much at all. And so this was one of the authors that I did firmly put a pass on, because I looked at some of the other books by this author and there weren't any of them that excited me. This was the one that I was most interested in, and it just did not work for me. It also had really awkward intimate scene, and there weren't even a lot of them, but it was like very awkward. So this was just not a vibe for Jen. This one just didn't work. So I did give this one a pass for this author. Then another historical romance author was Shanna Gallen, who I had never gotten around to yet. Can you believe it? I hadn't read one of hers. And the one that I read was Sweet Rogue of Mine. This was another one that I had gotten the book for free, and then the audio upgrade was only like $1.99. And so I was trying to read historicals that were on my Kindle as I had shed, or ones that I wanted to read. And so I gave this one a read, and this one had a blind hero, I believe so. He also definitely had some PTSD, and our heroine Prudence ends up staying next door to him at like the vicarage. Her parents are actually missionaries, and she got sent back to England to live. And now she is living next door to this hero. And yeah, it was very interesting couple. Let's just say that. She was so feisty. They were fun together, and I really enjoyed myself. This is another one, like, this was very far on into the series. That's often what happens when there is free days, right? An author makes a book further back in their backlist free, so that if you like it, you're more willing to go to the beginning and like purchase the other ones, which is a perfectly smart business decision. Okay, as someone who works for an author, completely understand that. And so I definitely will read another Shanna Gallen. So that was a smash from me. Okay, then we had Brie Wild, and this was a fantasy romance, you will see there are a lot of new to me fantasy romance authors, and that is something I'm very proud of. That has to do, again, that happened last year as well, because I was trying a lot of books that the nerd fam was pushing my way, and I was just really enjoying myself doing that. So this one, though, this book was not the most exciting, I will say that. It was kind of this dystopian / fantasy world, and the magic, I really didn't understand it very well. It was a very dark world. There was indentured servants and slavery, and there was a heroine in danger. It did have a good diversity, and it did have a very, like, I was intrigued by the setup. I just didn't fully understand what was going on, you know? So I only rated this one 3.5 stars. But I did see a lot of potential in this author. So this is one that I put it as a smash because I'm interested enough to see where she would take it from here. This one did have an HEA for the couple, though I have no idea how we got there, type of thing. Like, how did we get there? So yeah, I gave it a smash, but it is more of a maybe. It will depend on if there's one that is compelling enough for me to get to. Then we have our first, well, there's going to be a few in a row here where I actually own the book because I either already had it or I bought it as soon as I read it. And so a new to me author that I am honestly, I love this book so much. It was my favorite book I read in January, which is High Sticking the Heart by Marie M., who I'm looking forward to reading more of her. She actually has a mafia title, and so I have one of her books on the Mafia Romance Readathon, which is coming up next week already. Right? I know, it's coming quickly. And this one was just so much fun, right? I've talked about it multiple times. And this is a interracial couple. We have Ariella, who gets hired to be kind of like the, I think it's like the training coach of this hockey team. And there's this 6'4" Texan rocking cowboy boots and a cowboy hat who's just so sexy. And they end up in a fake dating situation where she kind of pretends to be dating him to get his ex to leave him alone. Because honestly, Ariella isn't that interested in helping him out. And then he sees how the guy's ex is treating him. And she's like, fuck that. Women, why are we doing this, right? And so she steps up and pretends to be his date. So they have this really fun night together. They don't have a one-night stand. They just have a great night. And then they aren't going to see each other. So, oh, she's the strength and conditioning coach. So yeah, kind of training coach for them. And then she discovers that he's one of the hockey players where she is now working. And if she is an ex to one of them, they were going to fire her because they don't want the drama. But if she's currently dating Dalton, who also happens to be is he the GM or the owner? I can't remember which he is. I know he's not the coach, but his father is involved in it somehow. And so now she's like, well, you owe me because I fake dated you in front of your ex. Now you need to fake date me in front of your team. And he's like, what? Who? Me? You need me to do this? You need me to pretend to date this gorgeous Latina queen? Yes, I will. I'm here. I've got it. So this hero is such a simp. He was so sweet. Like, truly, he was so sweet, but not in the complete pushover way, in the way where he genuinely wants to make her life as easy as possible. And I just adored him. I adored him from his head to his boots. And she was great too. She rode that edge of almost being, like, she was almost gonna be, like, too bitchy of a character, right? Because she's that hard edge. She's from a culture where the women are supposed to fit in certain roles. So she's very much bucking against convention. And that could have been frustrating. But it actually was, like, just the right amount. Because you understood where she was coming from. And she still did let him do certain things to take care of her. So she wasn't so irrationally like, go me, like I have to be the boss, that she wasn't willing to let someone love her. And that, for me, is the absolute sweet spot. Because if a woman goes too far with that and she starts pushing back against a guy just because it's a guy who wants to help her, I get a little bit irritated. Because I'm like, come on, then why is it a romance, right? Like, if you're not going to let the guy help you somehow and love you somehow, then why are we in a romance, right? You know, anyway, that's my feel on it. So, okay, then I finally got to When the Moon Hatched. So this is one that I was gifted this for my birthday in 2024 by Jessin. My sweet Jessin gifted this to me. I know this was a favorite of Crystal last year, and I had just had it on my TBR for a whole year, and I had had it on forever and ever. And then I finally got the audiobook, and then finally in January of this year, I was like, no, you are reading it. So I finally read a Sarah A. Parker. I had never read any of her other titles either, which was kind of a bummer. I know she had To Bleed a Crystal Bloom, which had also been on my TBR at different times. But I finally read When the Moon Hatched, and I absolutely understand why everyone loved it. This was obviously a smash for me. I'm really looking forward to the next one. I loved the audiobook. It was wonderful. And I just thought this was such a beautiful tale. Now, it's not going to work for everyone. It's very slow building. It has a very intricate plot with flashbacks and journal entries, but it also deals with a smidge of like reincarnation. So there's gotta be kind of flashbacks with that. So I don't know. I think it was handled very well, but I do understand any complaints of it almost being too slow. But there's dragons and there's fated love, and I love all that stuff. So for sure. Okay, then that one I actually read in February. And then another new to me one in February was Helen S. That's what we're saying. I'm not trying to pronounce that last name and mess it up. And I had an arc of Iron and Embers, though I did wait till the audio came out and then listen to it that day, because with fantasy books, I just need the audios, man. I do. They help me out the best. But this was my first book by her. This was the spin-off series from The Other World. And I'm so glad I started with this one, honestly, because I love the character so much. So this was an absolute smash for me. And I think, is it like Stealing Gold? Like, I don't know what the next book is going to be, but I think this is supposed to be a trilogy about the same couple. They definitely have a rough go at the end of this one. Ren and, what's his name? Ren and Torch. They definitely have a tough go of it, but this is like an alchemist, and she is going to kind of like an alchemy school. And then we have Torch, who is our bodyguard. They have a bit of history. They have a bit of animosity because of how things went in their past. So this is a like foiled lovers to enemies to lovers is what this is. And I just enjoyed it. I loved the school aspect. I love a magic school. I mean, who doesn't? Who doesn't love a magical school, okay? And I loved their build up together. And then the cliffhanger and the ending of this just like broke my heart. So this was an absolute smash. I can't wait to read more. I absolutely will. Okay, then there was Landon Hill, who was new to me with the book. Oh, wait. Did I pass over it? Let me see. Here we go. Landon Hill, and I read an arc from them because this was a dark cowboy. I'm in the phase where the arcs that I say yes to are quite a few mafia still, but also dark cowboy romance, because that is having its day, and I will ride that dark horse into the sunset every time. Like, I truly will. So this was a debut author with this one, and this book I was really anticipating, and this was very dark. It has our heroine, Stetson, that's right. And Augustus is the hero. That's right. It's a weird couple name. And he is her stalker. And he's also an ex, like, bronc rider. And she has just inherited this farm from her family. Though she has a very, like, twisted relationship with her family. Her father was very abusive. So it's like she doesn't have anything else but to run this farm. But she also hates that she's doing it at the same time. And he ends up working for her. And so he's been stalking her all this time, and now he finally has her in his grasp. And this was really kinky. This was really dark. There was definitely some suspense to it. And I overall had a good time with this one, especially for a debut author. I thought she did really good. This was very spicy, very dark, and it was a smash from me. I definitely will continue. And I think if you like books like Sovereign, or I mean, I would probably stick with Sovereign, because I wouldn't say like Chasing the Wild or Braving the Storm are as dark as this one is, right? Sovereign definitely has the same dark elements. I wouldn't even say that like Bull Rush and Dark Horse are as dark as this one was. This one is morally black in a lot of ways, is what I would say. So just keep that in mind. Like, I think it's closer to Sovereign, or even the new release Deacon. Like, Deacon was pretty mentally messed up. the heroine in that one. Very heavy. So keep that in mind though. Okay, then I read Crimson Forest by Louise Damgard. So this was a debut author too. I think this was her first book, if I'm correct. Either way, it was my first book, and so I was reached out to about this one. I think I read this one for Teacups and... yeah, this was Tales and Teacups, the PR company who had me read this one. And this was one, I've talked about this one multiple times. This is a fascinating story for sure. Too much to get into in this one where we're doing Smash or Pass. But this was a love triangle. This starts with a woman who is who has no memories. And she gets rescued by this one king, King Asher, who's the Inon king of the forest realm. The Inon are these types of shifters. They're different kinds of shifters. And she is a human, and she's told by this king that she's one of the last humans, and he doesn't understand why she doesn't have a memory, but he's here to take care of her. And eventually, you know, she starts to fall for him, and then there's a kind of quest that King Asher asks her to go on for him, because there's something he needs retrieved that conveniently only a human can retrieve for him. And when she goes to retrieve this item, she now is taken captive, and she's kept captive with this man. Her name is Vanna, by the way. She's kept captive with, what is this dude's name? Let me just double check. Another Wren. So many Wrens used. This one's R-H-E-N. And they are enemies at the start, and they end up having to work together. And she does discover that he's actually, I think, he's a prince or a guard to one of the other kings of the realms, and it is an enemy king to the forest king. So he is from the mountain realm, and they're at war with them. So these two end up having to work together to get back. And anyway, it's a love triangle somehow between them. And at one point, will she get her memory back? Will she not? So this was intense, and this had a cliffhanger that I am like, Louise, you better come through for me. You know, you can't write a story like this and then leave a girl hanging. So we need it. Okay, we need it. We need you to come through for us for sure. So yes, yeah, I would give this one a smash for sure. Though I didn't rate this one like the very highest. I was intrigued by how it went, and I would read more. So she got me with that for sure. Okay, then there was Alana Rachel Parker, and the book was, let me find it here, Ravenous, and I actually did DNF this one. This was supposed to be a like reverse Little Red Riding Hood scenario. Like the heroine is a wolf shifter and the hero is this like red bearded guy. And I'm not even going to get into this one too much. I've ranted about it before. It just did not work for me. And so I DNF'd this one around 40%. I wasn't really caring for the characters. And there was a weird setup of like the hero had sold out the heroine and her people to be held captive so that he can rescue people that he loves, and they're forced into this like kind of battle royale. Like it was a whole thing, and that sounds really interesting, but I was 40% in and I didn't even like care about either of the characters yet, and that's kind of a problem for me personally. It just wasn't working, so that was a pass for me. Then there was Lauren Rowe. Yes, I had never read Lauren Rowe yet. And from her, I read, let me find it here, Finding Home. And this was an ALC, of course, that I had from Must Love Audio. And it was Sean Masters and Andy Arndt that read it. And this was my first Lauren Rowe. It will absolutely not be my last. This is a rock star hero who in the beginning is in rehab. He knows that he has a child out there somewhere. He's been paying for her upkeep, but it was from a one-night stand with a groupie, and he had no interest in being a father until his mother was sick. And so he did try to reach out to the mother of the child, and she just spurned his advances, which he was, you know, very hurt about. But at the same time, he's like, well, I am the one who pushed her away first. What right do I have to be mad that she won't let my mother meet my daughter? And his mother ends up passing away, which leads to him completely snapping, and then he ends up in rehab. Now, after he's been in rehab for a little while, he needs to be in this training in this for a certain amount of time before he's allowed to tour again. And he gets contacted by his lawyer that the mother of his child has died and left her in the hands of a guardian who was the mother's best friend. And the grandfather of the child is trying to get a hold of the kid. And he's like, well, I keep sending my money. Like, I'm not fit to take care of the kid. But the thing is, the guardian was made the friend, not the grandfather. But the grandfather was trying to usurp the will and say that he was better suited to be the caregiver because he wants to get his hands on the money that our hero is sending monthly for his child, because he's sending a lot of money. And so he gets encouraged to get involved. If not to be the one to take care of the kid, to support the friend as the guardian. But he decides he does want to be a part of the kid's life. And that leads to him getting out of rehab, the friend becoming a sober companion to him in a way, and him getting to know his child. And this was absolutely so sweet. It broke my heart. I cried multiple times. It was so well performed. This was duet narration, and it was fantastic. There was drumming in it. This was just so well done. It really was. So it's no surprise that Lauren Rowe is a smash for me. Like, I knew I would want to read her again, and I'm so happy that I gave her a try. And then there is Charlotte Mallerie, which I so wonderfully was sent a beautiful copy of book 1. And I also was sent an ALC, which I loved. I ate up this book. This was duet narrated. It wasn't fully like a full cast thing, but there were some sound effects. It was just so well done. And this was the first half of duet. Now the second half of the duet is out, and I do want to read it. I do, because I was given an e-arc of that one, and I was given this, but I want that audio so badly. And so I want to read the second half, but I want that audiobook, and it won't be out until probably June. So at this point, I probably will wait, but this was absolutely a smash. This author did a fantastic job. Charlotte Mallerie, this was absolutely wonderful. This was a siren and a siren hunter, and he is sent to capture her and bring her back. And so these two, it's a battle of wills, right? And he's not some great guy at all. It's morally gray. There is some dubious consent situations. He has a power to kind of resist a siren, but she also has like this healing power that she can use to actually incapacitate people. Won't explain how that happened. So this was thrilling, like truly listening to this book. I highly recommend it. And the story was just so intriguing. It was sexy. It was intense. Like, this was great. I've been howling about that one. So absolutely a smash for Charlotte Mallerie. Is Natasha Madison. I read her for the first time for one of my patrons, and I read Shattered Dreams. And this book kind of drove me crazy. And I know Natasha Madison has so many books. This one it wasn't a second chance. It was, they knew each other when they were young. He was actually dating her best friend. There was a drunk driving accident where almost everyone in the car died except for her. And it was her like partner / boyfriend who was driving the car. And so the hero really blamed her for letting her boyfriend drive. But he does not know the situation in which the boyfriend was driving and why she wasn't driving. And to say that there wouldn't have been an accident solely because he was driving. Like, there's just so much. But she's dealt with the pain in this town of being the one blamed. Not only because by him and his family, but also by her boyfriend's family, because, you know, she pointed out that he was the drinking one driving. And then his family was like, you're slandering his name, when like, yeah, but he's the one who did. Like, it was a whole thing. So she's back in town because I believe there's a death. No, her father's ill. Her dad hasn't died. Her father is ill. And so she's come back to town to help the family business. And in the beginning, our hero is just like, what the fuck are you doing here? Get out of this town. I don't want to see you. And it's kind of like, well, bud, you don't get to decide that. Like, you don't get to decide what she does with her life. It's been a long time. So yeah, there was a lot. Like, there was some hopeful things in this, but this was set up where like he needed to grovel for how he treated her, but truly the man needed therapy. Why did he treat her this way to begin with? And it didn't jive with me, because his reasons for lashing out at her were so Like, I get it. It's a story. I get it. We act differently in grief, but it just was unacceptable. Like, she was grieving her best friend, and there was just so much going. So I know it was all used for the drama, it was all used for it, but it just didn't quite like jive with Jenn. Just didn't jive with Jenn. And so I actually put Natasha Madison as a pass because I know she's written so many books, but I also have a lot of experience with reading a lot of small town romance authors who write kind of the same stories all the time. So she's maybe more of a maybe, but I didn't have many authors that I had on the pass side. And I was like, you know what? If we lined up so many of these authors, like, I don't know that I would pick her again unless I was forced to it. So I put her on the pass side. But none of these authors are a complete no, never, you know? All right. Continuing along, there was Jenna Bigalow, who has started these like Roman historical romance series. And I only read The Merchant Match so far, which is the novella that you can get for signing up for her newsletter. There is the, oh shoot, I can't remember, but there's book 1 that was out, and then book 2 is coming out in May. Now, I don't know when I'll get to these. I don't. There's so many books to read. But I am very interested in reading more from her because I just love the idea of some Roman historical romance. I truly do. I think that is definitely ancient. Historical is not something that I normally get into, but I'm definitely intrigued. So I put that on a smash. Danny and Twinette and KF Hassal. I'm going to talk about both of them together here. These are 2 new to me mafia authors that I tried in March. And I read Danny and Twinette was a random arc that was posted on NetGalley, and it had one of my favorite cover models on it. I snapped it up. Loved it. Okay. Loved it. So much fun. KF Hassal was one that I read for my Patreon in March. It was our book of the month, and I loved that one as well. The heroine goes like kind of undercover to get something from the hero to kind of try to foil the schemes of another bad guy who'd actually kept her captive for a while. It involves a sex trafficking ring, so it was a lot. So these were 2 dark mafia romance authors that I've been recommending nonstop. I hope a lot of people during the Mafia Romance Readathon will give them a go. I can't wait for it, so definitely check them out. And yeah, I'm really excited about those 2 authors. They were both smash for me. Okay, then there was Thea Guanzon, and this was another one I read for, well, this one was for a pre-order. I did this one for the annotated pre-order. Now, I don't normally have people pick like fantasy romance because usually they're too long, right? Like my cap is kind of at like 500 pages unless there's a special situation. But I gave this one a go. It was kind of set up as kind of like Raylo fan fiction, sort of kind of is what people said about it. And I definitely see that. I definitely see where that came in. And it was good enough that I want to read more. Like, I do want to read more about this couple. I'll probably get the audiobook next time because it was a bit tough making it through the paperback because I had to annotate it. So I was getting through that. It was a bit tough to get through that. I was pushing myself. But at the same time, I was really sucked into it and I wanted to know more. So I will probably continue. But I may wait until the trilogy is all out. I think only book 2 is out so far. And I'll probably listen to it on audio. So this is tentatively a smash, but we'll see. Okay, and now the last new to me author I have to share is Sylvia Pierce. And for this, it was a audio book that I had, Naughty or Ice it's called. This was dual narration by Samantha Brentmore and Teddy Hamilton. Great pairing. And this was one I signed up for because it was available. And like I said, with Must Love Audio, I try to take as many of those as I can because audiobooks are the easiest for me to get through with all my other day-to-day things. So this was a solid, quick, it's a figure skater helping out a hockey player. He needs to get his mojo back. She's a single mom. They have this like really fiery connection that quickly turns into lust and kind of a like friends with benefit situation. But it also was just really sweet because they have this connection of like both having a dream they want to live out, but also needing to take care of family. And like for her, it's her and her daughter like against the world. And for him, he is kind of the breadwinner for his family. It's just him and his mom and his siblings, and he wants to make sure his siblings don't have to worry about anything the way that he did. And so it was interesting because it's a hockey player who, yes, he's wealthy, but he needs to keep playing for so many years to take care of his family, right? He pays for his mom at an assisted living place. She has early onset Alzheimer's, though we don't have to see many symptoms of that, but they are there, right? And then he also has 2 siblings that he's paying for their college. So he kind of needs to be able to keep playing until they're able to get started in their careers, because, you know, money does go fast when you're paying for someone at a full-time assisted living and you're paying for 2 sets of colleges. Like, the dude does have expenses for sure. And so he has an injury, and since his injury, like, he's kind of lost his mojo is the thing. And so she's an ex-Olympic skater, and so she is kind of helping him find the joy of skating again and helping him skate correctly to protect his body. And so that's where they're meeting each other. She's kind of coaching him. I love a skater meets a hockey player so much. Like, that's a great pairing. I definitely need to do an oddly specific rec video for that, because I've read a few. I have another one on my TBR even that is coming up in May, that is a figure skater and a hockey player. Like, those are great pairings, right? I love it. So yeah, those are the 19 authors so far this year that were new to me, and for the most part, they've all been smashes, right? Whether I do read more of them will depend on what comes up for them. But yeah, let me know if there's any of them that you want to try after I talk to them. Again, I will have a link to all of them down below. If there's any of the authors that I've passed on or I'm unsure, let me know what other books by them I should try. Happy to have my eyes opened, as it were. And yeah, there we go. Thank you so much for watching, my friends, and we'll see you next time. Bye.